She is an award-winning marketing executive, speaker, and innovation enthusiast. She is also the licensee and organizer of TEDxAtlanta. Please welcome Jacqui Chu.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. How are we doing? Yeah, come on. Wake up. So a quick round. How long did it take you to get here this morning? Those of you who said an hour, raise your hands. Those of you who said more than an hour, raise your hands. Keep your hands raised, those who have an hour. What about those who were here in 30 minutes? Okay, that's pretty reasonable. All right, so cool, thank you. All right, well, this is actually related. Today, this wonderful panel here is going to discuss the future of transportation. And we're going to be discussing it in the context of urbanization. So today, 50% of the world's population live in cities, 50%. And in about 20 years or so, 2050, 20, 30 years or so, 2/3 of the world's peoples are going to be living in cities, which the proponents will tell you that's wonderful, it's efficient, it's got a better quality of life, and it also facilitates social integration. So we're all going to get along better, and we're going to get to know each other a lot better. The detractors will tell you mobility will be an issue, traffic congestion will be an issue, and air quality will be an issue. So today, the number one solution that various parties are working on is innovation in transportation and ways of getting, no pun intended, ways of getting from your place to the next place that you need to get to in the city. So I'm going to open this conversation with by kind of citing a Brookings Institution study that says $80 billion has been invested between 2014 and 2017 on transportation technology related innovations, specifically autonomous cars. And so over 160 deals. So I'm going to direct this to Jeff Schneider, and he was the engineering lead at Uber's Advanced Technology Group, which was, of course, their self-driving group. He's now research professor at Carnegie Mellon and the Robotics Institute, I believe. And so the question is, so how far are we from what is known as level 4, which is highly automated self-driving cars, and what needs to happen in the next 10 years for that to become a reality?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the great thing with level 4 autonomy, the nice thing is that you can just pick your areas that you can do. And so the cars are already really good. There are many streets they can already do. And so especially when you have ride-sharing services, there's a nice, easy path to roll the cars out where you call for a ride, and the self-driving car says, oh yeah, I can do that, or no, I can't do that. And if it can do it, you get the self-driving car. If it can't, you get kicked over to the regular ride-sharing service. So there's a nice, smooth acceleration. So I think the time until we actually are able to take those rides with no one in the seat, really, it's just about when the companies decide to just start on that ramp. And I think that could be very soon.
How soon?
If it were me, it would be in a couple of years. I think. But we'll see how long before each of the companies decides to do it. Eva.
And anyone else have a different? He says a couple of years. What about the rest of you? Anything different?
I mean, I would say we think 10 years is probably the window, and we look at it both from a technology point of view, but also a consumer adoption point of view. Has anyone done the self-driving car, Uber or Lyft, like in Las Vegas or any market? Anyone here? Nobody has, right? It's a really interesting experience, and it's really, for me, someone who's pretty tech savvy, very outside your comfort zone. Even though right now there actually is a driver and there are two people in the front seat of the cars when you're actually in them. I think the big barrier is going to be less about the technology, but more about are people willing to put their lives into a car and trust the technology? And I think that ramp is really what's going to take more time than just the technology.
I can comment a little bit on the user adoption. So Uber launched this similar service to the one in Las Vegas in Pittsburgh back in 2016, where you take a ride with the driver. And the experience of the users is amazing to see, because they get in the car and they're just like all of us would be. They're like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm in a self-driving car. And they're looking at the screen and asking the safety driver, what's that mean? What's that mean? But then what happens in the middle of our screen, there's a little button that says capture the moment. It's a selfie button.
Oh my God.
As soon as they take a selfie and it sends them a picture of them in a self-driving car, they're so busy texting all their friends, they've already forgotten they're in a self-driving car, and it's already become the new normal. So I'm not so worried about user adoption.
So the adoption curve is directly related to the amount of distraction via social media.
Exactly.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So the next question is less about tech and more about business models, and this is going to be directed to Alexander Ernst. Alexander is the CFO of Lab 1886, which we know is Mercedes-Benz's incubator here in America. And so from a financial and business model standpoint, do we see any new business models coming because of autonomous cars becoming more widely available?
Yes, I would definitely say clear yes. Why? Because what autonomous driving is offering to the customers is particular, they're gonna give back time to the customers. And time, of course, we all know, is the most valuable thing what we can have. So then the next question is, of course, what to use this time for. And as you can imagine, there are multiple possibilities, yeah, for, of course, working in a car, but then of course as well for offering services, selling services in a car, having quality time, simply sleeping also, or we have got so many possibilities, and therefore mobility will be the market of the future. Mobility will be much more seamless. So we're going to come from a world where we have got a lot of OEMs doing or fragmenting the market for car selling, for services, for cargo transportation. We will have got a market in the future where it's much more seamless, going from a long distance drive, mid, and also then to a last mile drive. We can see already nowadays as well concepts, of course, here in Atlanta, very popular, the e-scooters. It's a perfect example for the last mile drive. And I think in the future we can particularly then also see companies who are going to offer the full share from private car ownership over to car sharing, ride hailing, last mile delivery, packaging services, and at the end, a customer will be also not interested, or not so much interested, maybe, what do I own? But I want to buy a certain mileage. I want to come from A to B. And then I rather gonna decide as a customer what will be the experience. I want to go through that.
Perfect. That's a perfect segue, not planned, a perfect segue to the experience, to the actual rider experience. So what does all this mean for parking and for GPS systems? Let's talk a little bit about that.
So from a parking perspective, we're very excited about the future of autonomous cars. Because really, it's not going to be about people driving cars. It's about cars driving people. So if the cars are driving people, what are those cars going to do when they're not driving people, right? So where's the car gonna go? Now, we work with a lot of cities around the country. Cities are not gonna tolerate empty cars just cruising the block. So those cars are gonna have to park. Those cars are gonna have to get serviced, charged, cleaned, oil change. And so when we look at the ParkMobile business over time, today we're helping people pay for parking on the street. As autonomous cars come into the market, we've already got technology that's gonna enable that car to go to a garage, open the gate to that garage without actually having to have a human there to pull a ticket. And then as the user, you can from your phone go and say, hey, I wanna get a car cleaning, I wanna get an oil change, I need to get charged. And the garage will actually provide all those services, so when you're ready for the car to pick you up, it will be clean, nice, and ready to go on the road.
I like the sound of that. All right, so, but all this is predicated on a smart GPS system, right? So, and that's where you come in, Mike.
Yeah, so I would say, just quick show of hands, who here uses Waze pretty routinely? And I would be willing to submit that the reason why you use it is because it saves you time, okay? And so it helps you maneuver around traffic, and it helps you get to your destination as quick as possible. So as the transportation culture evolves, while it will be fun at first, the novelty, I think, to be in an autonomous driving vehicle, the point of getting in a car is because you want to get somewhere, you want to get there rather quickly. And so at Waze, you're starting to see us integrate into in-car dash systems with Lincoln, with Ford, in addition to systems like Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, to just bring that seamless navigation in real time to whoever is behind the wheel or in the car.
Perfect. So when the consumer is in the car and not driving, what are some of the activities? This is a prediction thing. It's not the ultimate prediction, but what are some of the activities you all can see us doing if we're not driving and not sleeping?
So I think we talk a lot about the future of transportation at Waze pretty consistently, and I think to answer your first question earlier, if you were to ask me when we will go to autonomous driving completely, I think if you have a child under the age of 5, I don't know if they're necessarily going to need a driver's license by the time they hit 16, which we all know was a bit of a milestone for us growing up. But if you think about the possibilities of being in a vehicle, you could have a business meeting, long distance trips, you could have in-car dining, things of that nature. So currently, at Waze, we are very, very cognizant and about distracted driving, because that's incredibly important. But as these vehicles evolve and get tighter with their technology, we could have a business meeting driving to a destination. The car could then park itself and then get back in, and then we can go on a long distance trip with food prepared there, and really just make the overall journey more productive. Because if you think about it, Americans, we spend so much time in our cars, right? I mean, you think about it, and then you park the car, and it sits at work for 8 hours, then you go home, it sits there for another 10 or 12. So I think just the car can then become that conference room and an area of production for you.
A portable conference room, I kind of like that, where the meeting goes to you. I kind of like that, all right. So let's kind of do a little bit of a prediction here, and y'all, so kind of play Oracle, channel your inner Oracle, and tell us what you think, what this would be like, what a commute would be like in 10 years.
So,
anyone?
We're talking a lot about autonomous cars here. I think that's like one piece of the puzzle. Cities are grappling with a broader issue around mobility, right? And autonomous cars might be a solution. E-scooters might be a solution. Smart parking solutions might be a solution. Public transit might be a solution. I think in several years, when you wake up in the morning and you're thinking about how am I going to get to work, you will have an app that you can go to where it will design your perfect route to work. That's the most efficient. And it's not going to really care if you have an autonomous car or not. It's not going to care if you have public transit. It's going to say your quickest route to get to where you need to go is drive to this train station, jump on the train, and then e-scooter to your office. And I really think that. I think cities are so congested now, and it really takes all of these solutions to really enable consumer mobility throughout the city.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll jump in on the Waze front. Currently, we have planned drives, which is something I used here today, right? I don't normally come down to this part of town, but I had a set destination time when I wanted to arrive by, and that really helped me understand what time I needed to leave my home in the morning to get here promptly. So I think a lot of those elements you're talking about, Jeff, they're slowly becoming a part of the consumer journey throughout the course of their day on their daily commute.
I think the big thing that's going to change is that individual car ownership is not going to make sense anymore. So if you do the math right now, it doesn't quite work out for most people to just sell your car and take an Uber everywhere. But once the car is self-driving, 80% of that Uber fare goes to the driver, right? That price is going to come down to a point where no one will need to own a car. And what that's going to open up is a complete reinvention of all the transit systems. So all the public transit, now you've got an entire population with no car who's saved a bunch of space because they moved their parking to other areas, and all of a sudden we get to reinvent the whole system.
That's exciting.
I'm also very much looking forward, and I'm excited about this future to have as a customer really a seamless flow of commuting or for traveling, where I'm simply going to say I want to go each day from A to B or to a long distance, and I will have always then also the perfect solution, including, of course, also, we did not talk about that, it's much easier for autonomous cars or air taxis to go up into the air and to use this much less populated space up there to use this kind of air taxis in the future.
Okay, last question, and it's a yes/no. Hovercraft or flying car in 10 years? Which is more likely?
No.
Flying car.
Hovercraft or neither.
No. Okay.
Definitely flying car.
Flying?
It's actually easier than the ground ones to do the autonomy.
Okay.
Definitely also for flying.
For flying, okay.
Yeah.
Flying car.
Flying car. Okay, flying car has it. So with that, this panel is concluded, and check back with us in 10 years. Flying cars. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.